Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. In fact, most importantly, I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. I very, very much appreciate that. In fact, you know, it's interesting. It was like 14 years ago when I was first introduced to this thing called network marketing. I'll never forget that night as long as I live. It made such sense to me when I first saw how this method of doing business called network marketing was shown. For the first time in my life, I was presented a method of doing business where my success was totally dependent upon how many other people I helped become successful. And I really connected with that. In fact, I fell in love with the concept, with the process of network marketing that night 14 years ago. And I firmly believe with all my heart, it's because of my love and my faith and my belief in the concept of network marketing is why I'm at where I am at today. I believe in it more than anything else. In fact, there's only one thing that I love more than network marketing, and that is my wife. In fact, that first night that I saw the concept of network marketing, I went home and I was so excited that I needed to establish a goal. I just knew this was going to be a part of my life for a long, long time. And so I wanted to establish some kind of goal that kept me really focused, really in tune with the principles that I was attracted to. Like you're attracted to this thing called network marketing, am I correct? That's why you're here? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to establish some goals that kept you completely in alignment with what you were originally attracted to? So I thought about that all night long. By the time the sun came up, I established what my goal was, and that was, like I said, 14 years ago. I've been working passionately towards this goal every day since for those past 14 years. And for those of you that have read my books, number one, I want to thank you. Okay? And number two, you know what my goal is. And that is by the time I die, I want to have 1 million friends. And I believe that if I focus my attention and my energy on that goal, everything else will take care of itself. Because if by the time I die, I have 1 million friends, that means I must have done a number of things correct. Would you agree? Okay. That means I must have contributed in a positive way to a lot of people. Now, will not the universe just naturally reward me with financial abundance and prosperity and peace and harmony and bliss and love and all those wonderful things, as long as I'm the kind of person that believes I deserve all those wonderful things? Yes? It's very important to believe you deserve it. Would you agree? Very important. Okay. And if I happen to do something stupid, which I've been known to do, like lose all my money, I've done that. And where I'm from, in California, we say done that or been there, done that, and bought that T-shirt. Okay. I've done that. I've lost everything that I've had at one time in my life. A lot of things I didn't even have, I lost. Okay. And if I was to ever make a choice where that happened again to me, and I lost all my money, well, I'll look at it this way. If all of you are part of my 1 million friends, then I can send you all a postcard asking if I can borrow $5, and I'd have all my money back, wouldn't I? Hello? Kind of makes you think about what we're really building in this pursuit of being the best we can possibly be in our network marketing business. Is it only that bonus check that allows us to experience this thing called financial freedom, or is it also the quantity and the quality of the relationships that we're going to create over the years to come? Now, since I've been in the industry for the past 14 years, and I have done it full time, I just jumped in with both feet, just leaped right into it. I've experienced a lot of things. I didn't have many teachers and coaches when I first started, so I had to learn a lot of things through the school of hard knocks, okay, which I'm sure some of you might be experiencing along the way. I have learned how to build a highly successful business. I've done that a number of times, built large networks, large distributorships in this industry. I know what it's like to be brand new, very attracted to the possibilities, but still have questions and doubts and maybe even fears as to what it's going to take to make the thing work. I've learned how to push through that, how to replace those fears with faith, and how to do the things that will allow people and allow myself to achieve what I wanted to achieve in my life. I've also been very blessed over the last 8 years especially as being a generic trainer. Well, I've been fortunate. I get to now travel the world. I get to work with the best of the best of the best of network marketing all over this planet. And if there's anything that I consider myself, my friends, is that I'm twice the student that I am the teacher. And I've learned how to study people that are really successful in this business. I've learned how to match and mirror and glean the principles that they use over and over and over again to achieve their phenomenal success. In fact, the seminar tonight, your fast track to network marketing success, is a composite of many of those principles that I've learned personally and that I have studied, that the masters have used over and over and over again. And these principles that I'm about to share with you are powerful. They're proven. I don't want you to think that I lay in some kind of hotel room at night and kind of dream up all kinds of wonderful new ideas on how to do this business. The business is very simple. It's very basic. The principles are very proven and very powerful. And I'm going to make a promise to you. My promise to you here tonight is simply this. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to share with you as many of these powerful principles that will help you get your business started quickly and profitably. That's why we're calling it the fast track. Yeah? I'm going to do everything I possibly can to share as many of these principles with you within the time that we have together. And I'm going to share these principles with enthusiasm, with integrity, and with a tremendous amount of respect for who you are. And all I ask you to do is this. I want you to open up that glorious mind of yours as I share these principles. I want you to just open up that mind and allow these principles to flow through. In fact, what I'd love to have you do is imagine that up here behind me is this big, huge banquet table. And it's just loaded with all the goodies that life has to offer. Because that's what life is. It's a banquet. It's unfortunate so many people choose to starve to death. Wouldn't you agree? And all I want you to do is just open up this mind of yours and allow these principles to flow through your mind on the way to the banquet table. Now, you trust your filtration system. You know what sounds good to you, what feels good to you, and what looks good to you. Am I correct? Trust all of that. All I ask you to do is have your mind open enough so that as I share the principles, you can get a good look at them as they go through on the way to the banquet table. Then at the end of the night, you can come up here at the banquet table, you can take a look at all the goodies. And what looks good to you, what feels good to you, what you want to put to work for you, put it on your plate, take it home. It's yours. What doesn't look good, leave it here. Maybe somebody else would like it, yeah? Make sense? Now you make me a promise in return for my promise to you. And your promise to me is simply this. What you put on your plate and take out of this room tonight, by the end of the day, you must use, you must eat, you must put into action. And if you will do that, tell me yes. Yes. I didn't quite hear you. Yes. Okay, so that's very, very important, is to take what it is you're learning and put it into action. See, most people think that the purpose of education is to acquire knowledge, whereas in reality, the purpose of education is to take action. Act, act, act. I also want you to understand something, that my purpose for being here tonight is not to motivate you. When I first got into this business, I wanted to be the best motivational speaker and trainer I could, but I've learned that motivation doesn't quite last. It's kind of short-lived stuff. It's kind of like taking a hot shower on a cold day. Sooner or later, you got to go outside. My purpose for being here is to be an inspiration, to inspire you, to help turn on the light within you, so that no matter how cold it is, you can just turn that flame up higher and higher and higher inside of you, so you can just stay warm. And that everybody outside that is still cold will just flock to you because of your heat. So the whole idea is to be an inspiration to your people as opposed to trying to motivate them. In fact, if there's one question that I get from most people in this business, sales leaders that ask me, John, just give me one tip, one technique that I can use that will keep my people motivated. How do I motivate my people, John? Here it is. Here's the tip. You find motivated people. The idea is to be an inspiration. The way you're an inspiration is by being an example. I also want you to understand that you're a volunteer here. You don't have to do anything. And I don't want you to do what it is I say. I want you to act on what you think of after I say something. You see, I'm an instrument of words here to trigger your ideas, not to give you mine. Because you'd do a lot more for your idea than you would mine, wouldn't you? So I want you to listen very carefully to what you hear yourself saying when something is said. That's why I say hello a lot. You notice? I'll be saying hello a lot tonight. It's not to say hi, I already said hi. I'll be saying hello to just kind of remind you about what you just thought of so that you got a good chance of remembering it when you leave so that you'll act on it. So are you ready now? Yes. Good. And let's take a look at this thing called your fast track to network marketing success. And I encourage you to take copious notes. Write as big as you possibly can, write as much as you possibly can. Take good notes so that you can reflect back upon it. What's nice is that we are putting this program into a home study format. Okay, so you'll be able to listen to it and see it and anchor those lessons over and over and over again. Now, for the purpose of this seminar, what I'd like to do is use an analogy. And the analogy that I'd like to use is that I want you to compare your network marketing business, okay, to that of a vehicle. I want you to take your company that you're associated with, and I want you to look at it as a vehicle. The kind of vehicle that you get into and that you drive from where you are to where you want to ultimately go and be. Now, because of your personal preferences, your particular lifestyle, your particular needs, wants, desires, the uniqueness of you, you look for certain things in a vehicle. Am I correct? When you want to go out and buy a car, you pretty much have a color that you prefer more than any other color. There's also amenities to that vehicle that you look for. Air conditioning, velour seats, maybe leather seats, CD player versus a cassette player, AM, FM. You look for certain amenities. Am I correct? Okay. You also make a determination as to whether or not you want one of these flashy cars that can go really fast, that have a little risk to it. Okay, maybe a little danger connected with it. Or you look for something that's a little bit more conservative, something that's more safe, more comfortable. Okay? You make those choices, but the idea that I'm trying to get across to you here is that your network marketing business, your company that you've chosen, is a vehicle that can take you from where you are to where you want to go. And you've made the choice of the company, you've aligned yourself based on your personal preferences. There's a common misconception in this industry that I'd like to chat about for a moment. The misconception is that most people in network marketing think the opportunity is through their company. And what I'm trying to get across to you this evening is that your company is the vehicle, the opportunity is this thing called network marketing. Because without network marketing, you wouldn't have an infrastructure to drive your vehicle, you see. And it's very important that you understand that your opportunity is offered to you via network marketing, because that's the infrastructure. Now, the objective of this seminar here tonight is to teach you how to drive, to truly teach you how to drive so that you're in total control, that you're always in the driver's seat and you're not just some guest going along for the ride, that you're totally in the driver's seat. You know exactly how to drive this vehicle of yours. And to make you as confident and as competent as possible, because the more confident you are in how you drive, the faster you'll be willing to go. Is that right? Hello? Yes. Okay. It's also important, the objective of this seminar, is to also make sure that you learn how to drive accident-free. Now, I'm not talking about accidents by collisions with others. Okay? I'm talking about being accident-free as far as knowing how to create your success. There's a lot of people that have been in this industry because it's so explosive and it has that nature of many times just exploding very, very quickly and a lot of momentum being behind it. Some people will just happen to be in the right place at the right time with the particular company, and they'll experience a measurable degree of success, but not really sure as to how they achieved that success. They weren't really in the driver's seat. They were like along for the ride. And so their success happened by, guess what? Accident. And so when they needed to try to recreate that success, they didn't know how to do that. So the point is that the objective of this seminar is to teach you how to drive accident-free so that you know how to create your success so that you can recreate it over and over and over again. Okay? So let's now take a look at your vehicle and how you can drive it from where you are to where you want to go. Okay? Now, your vehicle has what we call 5 gears. And I'm going to teach you how to use these 5 gears tonight. What's important is that you use these gears in their proper order and their proper sequence. You must use them properly. There are no shortcuts here in building your business. If you want to get to where you want to go faster, you just drive faster. But it's not like you've got one of these off-road vehicles that you can just take this shortcut through the fields. It doesn't work that way. You still got to stay on the road of success, and you must use your 5 gears properly. The first 3 gears are what we call your low gears. They're designed to get this big, massive vehicle of yours up and rolling. Now, just like anything, this is where you're going to invest the most of your time, the most of your energy, and expel the most of your fuel to get this thing moving. These are your low gears. But once you have enough momentum built up in 3rd gear, and I promise I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that, then you'll be able to shift into 4th gear, which is the first of your 2 high gears. Now, when you get into the 4th and the 5th gear, which are your high gears, you're now going to experience what a fine-tuned machine can function like, where it's operating at its optimum level, but taking the least amount of your time, the least amount of your energy, and the least amount of your fuel to propel. In fact, all you're going to need to do when you get your vehicle into fifth gear, it's just keep the hands firmly on the wheel and the pedal to the metal. And I'm sure you've experienced how a fine-tuned machine can function like when it's really built up momentum. Okay? Oh, one other thing I'd like to mention is that there's no speed limits. No speed limits whatsoever as to your vehicle. Imagine that you're driving it on the Autobahn. There's no police. You don't have to concern yourself with any tickets. You can go as fast as you want to go. So all during this seminar tonight, my suggestion to you is simply this. As you are learning how to drive this, how to use your 5 gears, start asking yourself, how fast do I want to go? Because come the time at the end of this seminar, you're going to need to make a choice as to how fast you want to drive this thing. You're going to walk out of here with a greater level of confidence and competence as to what it's going to take to make your business work. So you're going to now be faced with a choice as to how fast am I willing to drive this thing? How much time am I willing to put into it? How fast do I want to get from where I am to where I want to go? Because there's no speed limits. There's also this thing called the 97-3 rule. That's very interesting. It goes something like this. In any given population, 97% of that population need to have evidence that something is going to work before they're willing to give it a go. Which means 97% of the people in your network need to have evidence that this business is going to work for them before they're willing to put their pedal to the metal, so to speak, and apply what's necessary to make the thing work for them, to put in the time and the energy. 97% of the people need that evidence. 3% of a given population have the kind of mindset, the kind of attitude where they are willing to go out there and create the evidence for the 97%. Now, they're willing to blaze the path, so to speak, for the other 97%. Now, would you like to make an educated guess as to which percentage group prospers the most? Obviously, the 3%. By the time the 97% have the evidence, 97% of the money has been made, and so the 97% is splitting up the 3% that's left. Now, the reason I bring this thing up is that this thing called network marketing and the particular vehicle that you've chosen isn't totally proven yet in our part of the world. It's not totally proven in any place of the world. There still needs to be a lot of evidence that this thing called network marketing is real, and that the vehicle that you've chosen is real, which means 97% of the people are kind of waiting on the sideline to get more and more evidence. So you're going to really be faced with a choice. In addition to how fast you want to drive, you're going to be faced with a choice as to which group you want to be in come the end of the seminar tonight. Do you want to be a part of that 97% that needs more and more evidence before you're willing to really apply yourself, put the pedal to the metal, so to speak, and really drive this thing? Or are you willing to take the mindset of the 3% and go out there and create the evidence? Now, if I can give you a little vote of confidence, I've been in this industry for 14 years. I travel the world. I work with a lot of people in this business. I get to see what's happening with network marketing in many places of the world. And I'm confident, very confident in saying that 3 years from now, 5 years from now, millions upon millions upon millions of people are going to join this thing called network marketing all over the world, including right here in your community, whether you sponsor them or not. Which tells me that the evidence 3 to 5 years from now is going to be there, whether you give it or not. So that should make your choice as to whether or not you want to be a part of that 3% evidence-giving group a lot easier. If you already know the evidence is going to be there, why not be a part of that group? Hello?
Yeah.
Makes sense? Okay. So that's very important to understand. Very important to understand. So now let's take a look at the 5 gears that you must use to drive this vehicle of yours. First gear, and by the way, drive it from where you are to where you want to be. First gear is all about mapping out point B. First gear is deciding as to where you want to go with this. What is your targets? What is point B? What do you want out of this opportunity, out of this business, out of this vehicle? I'm a firm believer that 90%, as much as 80 to 90% of this business is knowing why you want to do it. And 10 to 20% is knowing how. The how-tos are very simple. There's a lot of how-to teachers out there. But if someone doesn't have the right attitude as to why they want to do it, they can hear the how-tos until they're blue in the face and it just falls on deaf ears. But if somebody has the right reasons as to why they want to do this thing, if somebody's there not to teach them how to, they'll find how to all by themselves if they have to. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay? So it's really important to be clear as to what point B is. Now, I'd like to take a little example. And let's take this target here, and we're going to call this point A, which stands for where you are. Okay? And we'll take this point over here, and we'll call this point B, which stands for where you want to be. Okay? Now, you've heard that the shortest distance between point A and point B is a straight line. And I'm sure that all of us would like to take the shortest, the most direct route possible on our journey to success in our business. Am I correct? Okay. Now, what's interesting is that I'd like to use an example. Here in this country, America, we have this space program called NASA. I'm sure you're familiar with it. About 35 years ago, we had a very charismatic president. His name was John Fitzgerald Kennedy. He rallied the entire country around a common goal. And that common goal was to put a man on the moon and return him safely back to Earth. So what I'd like you to do is imagine that this is point A is the Earth, and then point B is the moon. Okay? Now, you would think with all the bright and brilliant minds behind this space program that they could pretty much map out a course to point B that was as straight as possible, especially since they could see the moon. I mean, how many times do you set point Bs in your life as far as targets you want to hit, but you can't really see it like they could see the moon? You can envision it in your mind and make an educated estimate as to what it's going to take to get there, but most of the time it's a leap of blind faith. Am I correct? Well, they could see the moon. Plus, they had gazillions of our tax dollars behind them to do this. Well, my point is this, is that they had all of these resources behind them, okay? And you would think that they map out a really straight course. And that course, before they took off, was pre-mapped out to every detail. It was as straight as possible. Now, once that rocket ship took off, what's really interesting in retrospect, in looking back upon the journey afterwards, they discovered that the rocket was actually on course less than 3% of the time. 97% of the time, that means it must have been off course. Actually, what they discovered was that 97% of the time, it was correcting and adjusting to get back on course. So its journey looks something like this. So the lesson that I got from this, that I want to share with you, is simply this. Your success in network marketing, your success with the particular company and vehicle that you've chosen carefully to express yourself with, your success is not going to be dependent upon how straight of a line that you draw from where you are to where you want to be. More than likely, your success is going to be dependent upon how fast and how willing you are to correct and adjust to get back on course. Okay? And that's the key. So don't have to wait for everything to be pre-mapped out. Just have the wisdom to be correcting and adjusting 97% of the time to keep getting yourself back on course. Now, let's take a look at a couple of common scenarios, common situations that faced most of the people that come into this business. That's most of the people in this room. That's most of the people that are in your network. First one, have you ever noticed how some people, as they start on their journey from point A to where they want to be, that all of a sudden, these things called point C's start to come into play. And these point C's take the shape of other opportunities that sing to us like a siren song. And they say something that sounds like, come on over here, take a look at what I've got. I can help you get what you want a lot faster. And so many times what we choose to do is get off our path of where we were shooting for originally and to go out here and look at these point C's. Am I the only one that's ever done this? Okay. And then after just a few short days, if not a few short weeks, okay, we discovered it wasn't anything at all that we expected. And so what we end up doing then is kind of going back to where we started from. And then in retrospect, we discovered that in pursuing these point C, it was extremely costly. I mean, the time, the energy, the money that we spent getting off our path, looking at this point C, proved that this point C was nothing more than a costly curve in our life. And there's a lot of people out there that are being influenced by costly curves. I'm sure you have a number of them in your network. Okay? Is that they start on this journey of where they are to where they want to be with you, and then all of a sudden these other C's start coming into play. Okay? Now, in order for us to correct and adjust, because this is really getting off course, would you agree? This is nothing like this. This is really getting off course. So in order for us to correct and adjust so that we don't get this far off course, we need to understand why this happens. And I'm a firm believer that the reason that this happens, the reason that people are so easily influenced by costly curves in their life, is that they're not really focused on point B to begin with. They're more, in their mind, focused on what they want to have, not what they want to be. And anytime we think about what it is we want to have, we can usually equate money to that. And if there's anything that these C's offer the promise to us, is of money. And that's why we so easily and so quickly get off our path. That's the thing. Most people, I think, have it backwards. Most people have this kind of mindset. They think that when I have all the money I want to have, then that will allow me to do all the things I've ever dreamed of doing. And in the process of that, that will allow me to now be the person I've always wanted to be. And I think most people have that backwards. I don't think life is about having to do to be. I think people need to first and foremost focus their attention on what it is they want to be. Be clear as to what type of a person they want to be. Now, with being clear as to what you want to be, now you can more easily and clearly choose what it is you do to express that being. What you do to express that being. And in the process of doing things that's in alignment with what you want to be, you can't help but unleash passion in what you do, because you end up loving what you do passionately, which makes you so much more productive, right? And in the process of being more productive, guess what? You end up having everything you wanted to have. So life's not about having to do to be. Life's about being first, then doing to have. I think that's why they call us human beings and not human havings. Now, this thing called being is a very powerful thing. Most people aren't in touch with it. And it's unfortunate, because when we were when we were small children, we had a better idea of what we wanted to be than we are as adults. God, when we were children, someone would ask us, an adult would ask us, what do you want to be? And we'd say something like a nurse or a fireman or a doctor or an Indian chief or something like this. And what's interesting is that as a child, when we chose that kind of profession and we communicated that, it wasn't because of the money or the havings that these people had. It was because of the hero image that they showed us. It's because of the ability that they had to contribute to others and make a positive difference with others and help other people. That's what we were attracted to as a child. Then when we go to school and we're taught all about this thing of getting an education so that we can go out there and compete with everybody else and survive in this society of havings, we totally lose sight of what it is we want to be. And being is the most important thing. What it is you want to be in life is the most important thing. I think, personally, that's the challenge that life offers us, is getting in touch with what we want to be. It's kind of along the lines of also what our purpose is in life. Now, I don't want to sound like an advertisement, but because of our limited time, for those of you that have read my book, Being the Best You Can Be in MLM, and notice, being the best you can be, I devote a whole chapter to this thing called being, to this thing called getting in touch with a purpose. And there's an exercise in there that I share with you. Now, this was an exercise that was shared with me. I didn't create this exercise. I had some people a number of years ago that I trusted, that I respected, that shared with me the whole idea of being. And before I'd ever heard that, all I was focusing my life on was what I wanted to have. And granted, I would end up having things, but there was always a lack. There was always something else that was missing in my life that I never felt personally fulfilled. I did things that would allow me to have. I didn't choose to do things that would allow me to be. And now what's interesting is now that I'm focused more on what it is I want to be in life, I carefully choose. I see what's one really interesting point here is that when you are clear as to what it is you want to be in life and these C opportunities present themselves, and one thing I have learned, and I'm sure you vouch for this, is that when someone is very focused on what they want to be in life and they only do things that's in alignment with what they want to be, C opportunities present themselves more so than when you're just focusing on what you want to have. Would you agree? What's interesting, though, as opposed to pursuing the C's like we would if we were focusing our attention only on what we want to have, we're able to draw these C's into us. We're able to stay on our path and say, well, come to me and show me what it is you have. Show me what it is you're offering. And so we're able to stay on our path and attract them to us because we're so focused, you see, on what we want to be. And so now we're able to choose. And what these C's become, instead of costly curves, are clear choices in life. And now you're able to just more clearly choose what it is you do to express what it is you want to be. And you just don't do anything just because it has some dollars connected to it or some money connected to it. You do it because it's in alignment with what you want to be. Now, you might be asking, well, how do I know what it is I want to be? First of all, I'd like to encourage you to go to those exercises in the book and try them. They worked for me. Got me in touch with a whole part of me that's been laying latent within me ever since I was a little child. And I can tell you that nothing more has ever made such an incredible difference in my life than going through that exercise and getting in touch with that part of me. Here's another thing that could possibly help. The next time that you're in some kind of an event, or it could be any place, and you're now witnessing someone that is being what it is they want to be, and you hear yourself say something to yourself that sounds like, gosh, I'd like to be like that person. There's someone that just showed up in your life to kind of remind you about a quality that you want to instill in your life, that you want to be. It's not like you want to be like that person. It's not like you want to be a complete model of that person or a complete clone of that person. They have displayed to you a particular quality that they have mastered in their life. And this is a quality that you want to embed in your life. And if you were to recognize that quality, then you can isolate it from the person and make it your own. And for you and myself, for anyone, to be highly successful in this life, and I'm talking about more than just money, I'm talking about abundant and balanced in your life, we're going to have to instill a number of qualities to get to that particular level. Would you agree? That means we need lots of people out there that are sharing with us, giving us ideas of these qualities that we want to naturally embed. That's why I believe so much in the mentorship concept. That's why I always believe in being a great student, being a great student, but never being a follower. Because if you're a follower, you're just focusing your attention on the teachings and the beliefs of just one person. And that's not what being the best you can be is all about. So, my challenge to you, and life's challenge to you, is to get in touch with this thing called what it is you want to be. And if you could do that, you'll be in touch with a part of you now that will allow you to make more clear choices as to what it is you do. And now you'll only do things that you are passionate about. And in the process of being passionate about what it is you do, you can't help but have everything you want to have in life. Now, what's really exciting to me is that I know all of you are in this room, not because you're attracted to me, but because you're attracted to this thing called network marketing. You're in this room because you have an attraction towards network marketing. The company that you've chosen to align yourself with is something that you believe in, you feel good about. And you see this thing called network marketing as a business and you want to make it work for you. Am I correct? Okay, you're naturally attracted to this thing called network marketing. And most people that get into network marketing are attracted to it because of this, the money. But that's okay. That's okay, because network marketing does offer a lot of that, and you deserve all of it. But what's really interesting in working with hundreds of thousands of people all over the world, I witness where the passion really starts to evolve. And people don't get passionate about bonus checks. The passion for what they do evolves when they start to recognize the personal growth that they're experiencing and the contribution and the value that they're adding to others on the way of building this enormous business. Which tells me that network marketing allows a lot of people to be what they want to be. So if you could get focused, if you could truly get focused on what you want to be, then you could take a look at this thing called your network marketing business, which, guess what? It's a seed. It's a seed that's come into your life. And instead of maybe just casually looking at it, you'll be able to draw it into you, make it completely in alignment with what you want to be in life, and now you'll unleash this thing called passion with both your company and your industry. And nothing will stop you from being, doing, having, and contributing everything that you want. Make sense? Good. Let's take a look at another example. Let's take a look at this situation where many people, as they start on their journey from where they are to where they want to be, instead of being influenced by costly curves, what happens to them is that they hit roadblocks, stop signs, and they just stop dead in their tracks. Do you have any of these people? Okay. They call you up or you call them up. They say something that sounds like, I can't do this. I don't have the time to do this. I don't have the money to do this. I'm not good at this. I quit. You try to do everything you possibly can to encourage them, to motivate them, right? And you do that over and over and over again, and sometimes that gets them moving again, but they soon stop again. They just stop. They just stop. They just stop. You have some of those people, yeah? Okay. But we need to understand why people stop, why people come to a total stop when they start on their journey from where they are to where they want to be. And there's only one reason. The reason that people will stop dead in their tracks is because they fear something. Some of the most common things that people will fear is the fear of failing, fear of the unknown, fear of being personally rejected and discouraged. Some people even have a fear of, oh my goodness, what would I do if I succeeded? And these are the most common fears that stop people from moving on their path to where they want to be in life. And these fears are strong in their mind. And I'm convinced that the only reason that fear stops people is because they lack the faith that they can handle whatever will come up. The only reason people will allow fears to prevent them from moving towards what they're attracted to is because they lack the faith that they can handle whatever will happen. Now, what's interesting is that you can replace fear in your life by replacing it with its opposite. It's just like if you had a fear of the dark, what could you do to remove that fear? Hello? Turn on the light. And then the darkness would just run away from you with the speed of light. Yeah? So anytime fear came into your mind, the fear of failing, the fear of the unknown, the fear of being personally rejected or discouraged, or the fear of even succeeding, if you replaced it with its opposite, which is faith, then the fear would run away from you. Just run away from you with the speed of light. The opposite of fear is faith. Most people live in their fears because they don't have faith. But if they had faith, they would live in faith. And you can replace fear with faith. But you first of all have to have faith. You got to instill that. And there's 3 areas that you need to instill faith in order to replace the fear in one's life. One of the 3 areas is that you must instill faith in yourself. You must instill faith in you. You've got to believe that you're worth everything that you dream of. We're talking now about self-worth. We're talking about self-esteem. We're talking about investing in yourself to believe that you're worth everything that you dream about. And most people are not willing to do that. Most people think that the investment of education is too expensive. I mean, there's a lot of teachers out there that can help us instill faith in ourselves. Would you agree? Okay. But most people are not willing to invest their money in order to get that knowledge, to get that information from these people, to instill higher levels of confidence and self-esteem and self-worth. They think education is too expensive. They keep looking at the cost of what it takes in order to get this information. And if you think education's expensive, you ought to take a look at the cost of ignorance sometime. What's really interesting is that here in America, the average American will spend somewhere around $600 a year on niceties for the outside of their head. Things like shampoos and conditioners and hats and permanents and hair dryers and razor blades and mustache wax. Around $600 a year on niceties for the outside of their head. Then you ask that same person to invest $100 into books and tapes or a seminar or a workshop or a conference, and all of a sudden they don't think their head's worth it. Something's very wrong with that picture of themselves. Where people honestly believe that they spend enough money on the outside, the inside will feel good. As opposed to understanding if they invest enough money on the inside, the outside will just naturally glow. We're talking self-esteem, we're talking self-worth, and the only way that you will get what you want in life is to invest in yourself first, in your faith and your belief in yourself first, that you deserve it. Everybody on this planet is being paid exactly what they're worth. They're being paid exactly what they believe they're worth. That's the thing they have a difficult time handling, especially here when we have some of these athletes that are making $6 million a year to play a kid's game. And there's a lot of people sitting at home that will just get angry about how much money this player is making. They'll think it's like outrageous. It's crazy that they'll just make that much money playing this kind of game. The only reason that athlete makes that kind of money is because, number one, they believe they're worth it, and number two, somebody else does too. The person is paying them. And every time we go to a game and buy a ticket and drink a soda pop and have some popcorn or a hot dog or something like that, we're buying into the belief system of that athlete that believes this is what they're worth. I've learned something about the marketplace, my friends. It will pay you anything you truly believe you're worth. So if you want to make more, then invest more into your belief of what you're worth, and the marketplace will pay it to you. All you got to do is deliver what it is you say you can deliver, and it'll pay you anything that you believe you're worth. So this faith has got to be in you first. You got to be willing to invest yourself. That's why I just acknowledge each and every one of you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be here tonight. This is a step, this is an educational step in instilling greater levels of faith in yourself. Would you agree? People had an opportunity to be here. Some said they were going to be here, didn't even show up. And it's not because they don't think I'm worth it. It's they don't think they're worth it yet. So my acknowledgement to you is the time and the energy and the effort that you put in to be here. And my challenge to you is never lose sight of that. Keep investing in yourself. Keep building your self-worth, because the marketplace will pay you anything that you truly believe you're worth. Got it? Hello? Yes. Okay, good. Next is faith in your company, which is your vehicle. The faith in your vehicle. Most, if not all of you, have strong faith in this particular area. There's some stranger can come up to you and challenge you as far as the credibility, as far as the value that the company that you represent and their products offers, and it just wouldn't shake your faith at all. You would just project confidence and competence to them that you have something that's of value. You know that what you're sharing with others is good. Am I correct? You have strong faith there. But just having faith in the company is not enough if you don't have faith in yourself too. You see, these three areas that I'm about to show you, they're like a chain link. They make a complete circle, and if one of the links is weak, then the whole chain is weak. And that's critical to understand. I don't need to talk to you. I don't need to try to teach you about how to instill faith in your company. Virtually everyone that's in this industry of network marketing has a lot of faith in the company and the products that they share with everyone. But yet not everyone is successful in this business because it takes more than just faith in your company. It takes more than just faith in your products. So if you have a lot of faith in your company, make sure you maintain that. And if you don't, then start learning as much as you possibly can about your company to instill greater levels of faith. So if somebody challenges you, boom, you're able to come from faith. You're just able to remove the fear and replace it with faith about value that you know you're offering people. The third is this thing called your industry. In other words, you have to have faith in network marketing too. If you expect to build a network marketing business, you have to have faith in it. If you expect to be getting to the point where you're earning $100,000 or more a year, then you have to have faith that you're worth it in person, you personally. And there's a lot of people in this industry that don't have the faith in network marketing. They have more faith in the company and the products that they share and represent than they do in network marketing. In fact, this thing called network marketing is something that many of us kind of hold there in the closet. We're afraid to even talk to people about it because of what people will say to us. They'll attack us. And so many of us keep this thing called network marketing like it's a skeleton in our closet. Yet we're trying to tap into the power of what network marketing can offer us. We're not proud of it. We don't have faith in it. It was Goethe, the great German poet of the 18th century, that once said, "What we do not understand, we cannot possess." How can you possess the power of network marketing if you don't really understand it? And there's only one reason that I know of, that I can even think of, why people don't love network marketing. It's because they don't understand it. They don't study it like they study their company and their products. They don't study it like they study themselves. If you knew what I know about network marketing, you'd love it. You'd have an unshakable faith about it. The kind of faith that nothing in the world could prevent you from communicating clearly and succinctly that this is a credible, legal, viable, ethical method of doing business. I mean, I could have the most influential person in this country, one of the most powerful people in the world, come up to me and say something negative about network marketing and be like a water off of a duck's back. That's how much faith I have in the industry. I could have like Bill Clinton call me up and say something like, "John, I've been getting a lot of feedback from my congressmen and my senators about this thing called network marketing. There's a lot of people calling them saying that they got stuff loaded up in their garage, that this thing's a big rip-off and a scam. And I just want to let you know, John, that I'm thinking about wiping this thing called network marketing right off the map of free enterprise." And I say, "Now, Bill, just hold on here. Let's talk about this. I'll catch a flight into Washington, D.C., and let's chat." And I'd sit across from his desk and I'd say, "Now, Bill, I can appreciate what you're saying. I totally understand where you're coming from. But, Bill, you just haven't gotten the right information. You just haven't met the right people yet. Because, Bill, if you knew what I know about network marketing, you wouldn't be thinking about wiping it off the map of free enterprise. You'd be looking at a way of getting Hillary in it." And that's faith, you see. And how many people do you know of, maybe even you personally, you do a little soul searching here, that when somebody comes up to you that's just uneducated and negative, and maybe just mean by nature, and says something like, "This is one of those pyramid schemes or scams, I can't believe you're doing this," and you find yourself freezing out of fear, and then holding it back and not sharing with this person the truth, that's because you don't have the faith. But if somebody was to kind of approach you that way and say something negative or just be mean, you just look them right in the eye. And with a smile and say, "I can appreciate you saying that. It's really unfortunate you just haven't met the right people or have gotten all the information. Because if you knew what I know about network marketing, you wouldn't say that. You'd be kind of looking at it, taking a serious look at it, because there's something here that most people just don't know about yet. And I'd be willing to share with you what all that is." I got this little black book. It's called The Greatest Opportunity in the History of the World. How many of you have ever read that book? Okay, that's an excellent book. A book that will help you really understand what network marketing is and what it is not. It takes people back about 50 years ago when the industry started, kind of lets you know everything that we went through. Tells you where we are today as an industry, not only nationally but globally, and where we're moving into the future. And it's an opportunity for you to really educate yourself about the truth of network marketing. And so my suggestion is that if you don't have unshakable faith in network marketing, that you find a way of instilling it by educating yourself. Because if you knew the truth, you'd have faith in it. I'm confident of that. If you knew the truth, you'd have faith in it. So now, this is how you remove the fear in your life. You replace it with faith. And if you were to be able to focus your attention on getting clear as to what it is you want to be in life, so that now you would choose carefully what it is you do to express that being, and you would remove all these costly curves. And then you also then did everything you could on a daily basis to instill faith in yourself, your company, and your industry. Eventually you'll remove all the fear. And you've got your vehicle now really up and rolling. You're in first gear, it is moving. You're now ready to shift into second gear. And second gear is that it's time to tell the world about your trip. This gear is what we call the prospecting gear of your business. Tell the world about your trip. Now, when it comes to prospecting, I would like to preface something. It's the lifeblood of your business. And I've never met anyone highly successful in network marketing that did not work off of a tangible prospect list. Most people have a tendency to kind of work off of a list of people that are just popped up in their head, as opposed to a tangible prospect list. I'm talking about a list of everyone that you can possibly think of that you know, no matter where they may be, and working that list on an ongoing basis. Now, when it comes to making out a list, your business always starts with you. The first people that will come to mind on a tangible prospect list are obviously family and loved ones. The next group of people that you'll think of will become friends and acquaintances. In other words, these are the people that you know. This is a great place to start. This is called in the business your warm market, your circle of influence. Okay? This is a natural way for most people to approach their business, is to contact the people that they know, their immediate circles of influence. Now, here's a couple of ideas that I'd like to share with you when it comes to your circle of influence. One, I suggest that you prioritize your list. Prioritize your list by putting those that would be most interested or most likely candidates first and identifying them. One of the first priorities that I highly suggest people list are those that have bubbly personalities. In other words, in making out your list, if you recognize people on that list that are very personable, they like other people, they're like life of the party type of people, these are the ones that you want to identify with the major A next to their name, because these are your prime candidates for your business. People that like other people love to be around other people. They love to tell stories. They love to talk. This is the first ingredient that is essential for success in this business. You've got to like other people. You've got to like to talk. If you get someone that's rarely likes other people, that really loves to talk, if you get them excited about what it is you're doing, they just have the inherent personality where they like to go out there and just tell the whole world about it. Yes? And these are the kind of people that you want to sponsor. You don't want to try to sponsor undercover agents in this business. It just doesn't work. Okay? The second priority are people that are very positive, highly positive people. Now, the way that you identify the positive people on your list is to look for those that have an open mind. And then everybody else on your list is negative. And you want to do everything you possibly can, especially in the early stages of your business, to stay away from negative prospects. Wait until you have built a certain level of faith within both yourself, your company, and your industry before you approach any people that are negative. In fact, once you have a little track record of success, then you can be approaching some of the negative people that you may know. But it's so important in the early stages to focus your attention on positive people, positive people, positive people only. The third category, third priority, are what we call successful people. Many new distributors in our business have a tendency to prejudge that the successful people that they know are already too busy. They don't have the time to do something like this. They're already making the kind of money that they want to make, and that's a wrong prejudgment. I'm a strong believer in helping your new recruits identify successful people that they know and have the mindset of sponsoring up, sponsoring up, sponsoring up, looking up, looking up, looking up to the quality of people that they'd like to bring into the business. See, there's a couple of things about successful people. First of all, they're very quick to recognize opportunity. Would you agree? And if they see something that they like, they move towards it quickly. And they've usually earned the right and the respect of a strong circle of influence. So when they move, many people move with them, which increases your chances of duplicating yourself a lot quicker. And there's one thing about successful people, they already have a strong faith system in place. Notice? You don't have to teach them a lot about themselves. They have a strong faith system in place. They put themselves into action quickly. And there's another thing about successful people. If you don't approach and contact the successful people that you know, guess what? Somebody else will. Okay, now that you've prioritized your list, now it's time to pick up the phone and invite your people to take a look. All right, so let's chat about how we can use the phone to be more effective in inviting people to take a look at what you're doing. There are 5 ingredients that I highly suggest that you incorporate in your phone skills. One is extend the courtesy of asking the person that you're calling, is this a good time to chat? By doing that, you guarantee yourself the listening ear of the person that you're trying to talk to. The second thing that you want to look at, The second thing you want to incorporate is that you must transfer your enthusiasm and your faith over the phone. In other words, understand that the phone is kind of a cold tool. The person can't see your physiology. They can't look into your eyes, which are the windows of the soul. Okay? They can only get a feel through your voice as to your enthusiasm and your faith. So you need to communicate that and transfer it effectively over the phone. Third thing I strongly suggest that you do is that you extend compliments to the person that you're calling. So before you pick up the phone, you should identify like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 qualities about this person that you really respect and admire. And these are sincere qualities that you respect and admire within this person, not just manifested things out of the blue. And so now then you communicate these qualities in the form of a compliment to your prospect while you're on the phone with them. This gives them now a better indication as to why it was so important that you called them and they were one of the first people that you wanted to chat with. The fourth then would be to offer a disclaimer, is to extend through a sentence something that allows them to feel that they're not going to be obligated if they were to meet with you to enroll in what it is you're chatting about. So something like, I'm not really sure this is right for you or this is something that you want to do. The most important thing is that I wanted to share this with you. So by taking this little feeling of obligation away from them, by what we call a disclaimer, you'll find more people willing to sit down with you and take a look at what it is you're doing. And then the last ingredient, the fifth, is to be very clear as to an objective. What objective do you have in mind when you pick up that phone to contact this person? If the objective is to schedule an appointment with them, then have a way of moving into that objective by offering choices of when's a good time for you and them to possibly get together, maybe over lunch or over tea or something like this. If your objective is because they're maybe hundreds if not thousands of miles away, if your objective is to send them information or a sample or something like this through the post or the mail, then make sure you know exactly how you're going to communicate that and what it is you want to send them and what they're supposed to do with it when they receive it. By using these 5 ingredients, you'll find yourself being a lot more effective in scheduling appointments. Okay? Now then, this evolves around the people that you know. Now we're talking about circles of influence that are beyond that. We're now getting into an area of those you haven't met yet. I mean, there's a lot more people out there, I think you'll agree with me, that you haven't met that you already know. Would you agree with that? Okay, so the nice thing about this is that when you learn how to make friends out of strangers, you've now just made the world your oyster. Okay? You've now just made the circle of influence that you have absolutely limitless. There's no limit to it whatsoever. The world is now your oyster. And the master prospectors that I've studied, if there's anything that they're good at, it's this thing called friendshipping. It's this thing called making friends out of total strangers. There's a few things that they do to master that. And a lot of it evolves around skill. First of all, you have to have the right attitude that you really like people. But then there's some wonderful skills that you can learn that will really increase your friendshipping abilities. One book out there that I highly recommend. It's written by Dale Carnegie. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Every master prospector I've ever studied has that book. And it's a book that they have like on their nightstand or on their cocktail table in their living room, and they pick it up 3-4 times a week and they read 15-20 minutes out of it. Wonderful pearls of wisdom. I mean, just think about the title of that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It doesn't say how to make enemies and alienate yourself from others. It's how to win friends. I mean, that's important and very important. In addition to that book, there's a technology out there. It's a science. In fact, it's called now the Art and Science of Communication. It's referred to as NLP, which stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming or Processing. Okay? How many of you, by a show of hands, have ever heard of it? Good. It's becoming extremely popular. It's powerful, powerful, powerful technology that allows you to more effectively communicate with others. Now, in and of itself, NLP is very, very broad, and I do not encourage people to approach it from this broad perspective, because I've seen a lot of people that start to get into studying NLP and they get kind of stuck in accumulating all the things and not really doing much with it. But there's one area of NLP that I highly encourage that you focus your attention on first, that you study it, then you start applying what it is that you're learning, and then when you master it, then you can move on. And this is the area of rapport building skills. Now, what is rapport? I ask you to go back to a moment in time when you're at a function. It could be either a business function or a social function, and you just met someone for the first time. You striked up a conversation with them. Within a matter of a couple of minutes, it's like you'd known this person all your life. You ever experienced that? It's like there was this level of trust and friendship that was almost immediate. I asked you to think about how that conversation flowed and how effortless it was. The eye contact was so pure. The tonality of your voice were common. You had so many things in common. You didn't have to struggle and think about what it is you're going to say. You really liked them, they liked you, and it was just this harmony that you had between you. When you understand the rapport building skills of NLP, you can create those kind of interactions with strangers as much as 70% of the time of the people that you meet and you chat with. Now, would that be empowering to you in your business? Highly empowering. And this whole thing called NLP is something that you can study. It's a science, it's skills that you can develop. The reason NLP is so powerful in this rapport building area is that they've been able to recognize that all of us have a particular area that we prefer to communicate to and from. It's a dominant area. They say about 60% of us are what they call visual people. They say about 20% of us are auditory, and about 15% of us are kinesthetic. And if you're able to recognize the person that you're meeting and chatting with, what particular area that they like to communicate to and from, you can put yourself in their space and create that harmony through things and techniques called matching and mirroring and modeling. And now you're able to create what they call a reflection of themselves through you, and they open up to you. Now, this isn't manipulation. This is powerful communication skills that allow you to better communicate with others and allows them to embrace you and open up to you so that what you have to share with others, they open up to it, they embrace it, they are more willing to hear what it is you have to say. So I encourage you to study this thing called NLP, to study these things called the rapport building skills. There's books out there, there's tapes out there, there's courses that you can take, but you're in the people business. And the more effective you can become as a communicator, the more effective, the more powerful you will be in building your business. Okay? Now there's another area out here of people that just aren't ready for what it is you have to offer. We have to understand that prospecting is not just a yes or no. There's one thing that I've noticed about most people that come into this business is that, like a new distributor will chat with someone that they know or someone that they've just met, and they'll try to share with this person what it is they're doing. And maybe this person is just not interested. The timing isn't right. Maybe this thing just isn't something that's ready, they're ready for. And because that person is not interested at this time, it's like that new recruit, that new distributor just says, oh, I failed. This is someone that's not a prospect anymore. Whereas the masters that I've really studied, you know what they do? They just focus their attention on friendshipping first. And if in chatting with someone and making a friend, that person wants to know more about what it is they do, they then share with them what it is they do, the kind of business that they're in, why they're so excited about it, everything that's going on with it. And if this person isn't attracted to it because there's other things going on in their life, maybe they're just not interested in getting involved or even taking a serious look at it, as long as that person is open to being kept informed and staying in touch with, then these master prospectors put this person into what they call a pipeline. And now then they have a system for communicating regularly with everyone that's in their pipeline. And then through that system of communication, it could be through a newsletter, it could be through a follow-up system that they call this person every 2 to 3 months just to ask them how they're doing, what's going on in their life, and so forth. Here's what's happening in my business. And many times because they have a follow-up system that communicates with all the people in their pipeline, as time evolves, many people start coming out of the other end of the pipeline with now the timing being perfect in their life, and now them having all kinds of information that they needed in order to feel really good about this. In fact, if I was like a magical genie, and if I could zap you 3 years into the future, okay, so that you could just hover over this enormous network that you will have built by then, these thousands and thousands of people, these hundreds of highly successful sales leaders that you'll have in your business 3 to 5 years from now, I'd make an educated guess, my friends, that of most of the people that are your most successful business builders 3 to 5 years from now, number one, are people you haven't met yet. And number two are people that you kept in a pipeline and kept informed for a period of weeks, if not months, before they finally came out at the end with everything they needed to feel good about making a decision and wanting to do something with it. Would you agree with that? Okay? So it's really important to understand that prospecting is not a yes or no. It is a process. It is a process. And the masters that I've studied, they focus their attention on friendshipping first, and making sure that they establish quality relationships with people and that they show people how much they care before they tell people how much they know. And then as times change, more and more people start moving towards them because of the quality of the relationship that they have kept for the weeks and the months that have gone on. Now, that's also proven fact. There's going to be a number of people out there that in trying to share with them what it is you do, they're just not ready for it at all. Not only are they not ready for it, they kind of think you're a little crazy in even doing it. Have you ever met some of those people? Okay. Well, I'd like to use a little analogy here. I'd like to use a little metaphor, and I want you to use your imagination with me, okay? I'd like you to imagine that I hold in my hand this very ripe, this very juicy orange. Now, I'm not big, I'm not that strong, but if I was to squeeze this ripe and juicy orange, something would come out of it, yes? Okay. Now, what would you say would come out of this orange when I squeezed it? Juice. And then some of you, upon further review, said orange juice. Some of you are saying, is this a trick question? Why is it when I squeeze this orange, does orange juice come out? Why not apple juice or banana juice or pear juice? When we squeeze an orange, we get orange juice because that's what's inside of an orange, right? You can't get banana juice out of an orange. You can only get orange juice because that's what's inside. My point is simply this. The next time you start to share with enthusiasm and faith and integrity and respect with someone what it is you have, this wonderful gift that it is you have, and this person, because they're just completely uneducated, or maybe they've just had a really lousy day, or they're just negative by nature and by heart, and if they said something mean to you like, I can't believe you're even doing this stupid thing. This is like one of those pyramid schemes, one of those scams. I can't believe you're even doing it. In other words, they squeezed you. And let's say out of you comes this anger and self-defense, or this personal rejection and discouragement, or maybe even out of you comes this doubt that what you're doing and offering people has value at all. My question to you is simply this. Is it because of the person who did the squeezing? Or is it because of what was inside of you to begin with? So it goes back to this whole principle of faith, doesn't it? Faith in yourself, faith in the vehicle that you're sharing with others, faith in this thing called network marketing as something that is viable, ethical, legal, moral. Okay? You instill that faith, then no matter who squeezes you for whatever reason, that all you're going to give them is that faith. Is that positive faith and belief. So the next time somebody squeezes you like that, okay, don't just impulsively squirt. Think a little bit first. And then just spray that person with a cool mist of compassion, understanding, and respect. Okay? And that way we just go on our way. And you'll be amazed at how people will just come towards us. Yes? All right, great. So now when you understand that prospecting is a process, when you also understand that there's powerful skills that you can learn out there that will allow you to friendship and make the world your oyster, now you're ready for third gear. And third gear, my friends, that it's time to extend the invitation to those that are interested in coming along. This gear is the presentation gear of your vehicle. To extend an invitation. In other words, to sit down with someone and to present, formally present what it is you have to offer. Look up the word presentation in a dictionary, and it's defined as a performance. It means to offer and introduce to another a gift. Which means every single time you sit down with someone and you take time out of your busy schedule to share with them what it is you have, you're offering that person a gift. Now, maybe the time isn't perfect for them. Maybe they're not ready for this gift. Maybe they don't move towards it and embrace it, but that does not minimize its value. The most important thing is that you shared it, that you offered it. See, the Chinese, they have a wonderful philosophy. It goes something like this. They believe that if someone shares with you information or a product that helps you improve the quality of your life, you are now obligated to share that information or that product many times over. And the reason that they believe in that philosophy is that they believe in the law of the universe. What goes around comes back around. And the way that we can guarantee a constant and continual flow of good to come into our life is to make sure that we perpetuate many times over the good that does come into our life with others. One of the worst things that we could do is that if somebody shared with us something of value that helped us improve the quality of our life, that we didn't share it many times over. That breaks the chain. And not only is that selfish, that can be highly self-destructive. So you're obligated to just share it, not to make judgments as to who's ready for it, but just to share it. Now, I'm a firm believer that with your invitation, with the gift that you're sharing with people, the best thing that you can do is personalize it for their particular needs. Imagine when a birthday comes up of a very good friend of yours. You give a lot of thought as to what this good friend would really like, yes? And so you give thought to that. And my suggestion is that find out, whatever time you're going to sit down with someone, you're going to share this gift, find out what it is they're looking for in their life so that you can package this gift more effectively. That's why I'm a firm believer that the foundation of this business, the foundation of you building your network, is built on you and an army of your distributors out there sharing personally and informally in the home and in coffee shops in very small settings and gatherings, sharing the gift. Because when you sit down with someone one-on-one or two-on-one or a group of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people in a home, you create an environment that's conducive to really finding out what people are looking for personally. And I think that's really important. Many of us have been taught to use like big meetings to bring our prospects to for the first time. I don't think that's as effective as sitting down with someone in a more personal, low-key, informal type of setting and sharing with them your gift first. I look at it this way. If you were able to sit down with someone in a personal environment, you're able to touch that person in a way that you couldn't at a large meeting. You're able to find out what they're looking for. So you're able to possibly touch them in the way where maybe you kindle a little flame of interest or desire or faith that something's valuable here. Then when you bring them with that little flame to a larger event, like a conference or a showcase where you have all these wonderful speakers and trainers and this big vision is painted, and all these things that I just mentioned are like forms of fuel, now put on that spark or that little flame, it ignites it and just builds it, you see. But if you bring somebody in to one of these larger events and give them all this fuel without a flame being there, you're just soaking them with fuel most of the time, and they don't ignite. So I believe that the personal settings is a way that you really build that little bit of interest and that spark of desire and faith that will kindle people and move them towards what they're attracted to. It's also important in your presentation, I'm sure you've heard of KISS, keep your presentation simple and smile. I also believe in KISD, which is keep your presentation simple and duplicatable. This is critical. So many of us have a tendency to make our presentations as we acquire more and more information. We learn a lot about our business and we start to accumulate all these things about our company and our products and the business plan. We have a tendency to give these kind of presentations that are very factual, very lengthy, lots of information. And many times at the end of our presentation, a prospect will come up with an objection while not to join because they can't see themselves doing to others what you just did to them. So I think it's really important that we discipline ourselves to give a presentation that's simple and duplicatable. And one of the best tools for doing that is a presentation book. And for those of you that may not be familiar with the presentation book, it could be a nice 3-ring binder that's a composite of company literature that you cut out, put into nice plastic sheet protectors. It can also have graphic illustrations that you have put together that shows maybe the growth of the company or shows a graphic illustration, the difference between conventional methods of distribution and this thing called network marketing. Presentation book is also a composite of personal pictures of you with some of the most successful people in your upline, with some of the executives and principals of the company. Because a picture is worth 1,000 what? Words. But how many times do we choose to use 1,000 words when we could have used a picture? Yeah? And you tell me, what is more duplicatable? Trying to teach someone how to repeat 1,000 words or trying to teach them how to use a picture that would communicate 1,000 words? And I'm convinced that many times we create objections at the end of our presentations for our prospects because they can't see themselves doing to others what we just did for them. Now, when we're new to the business, this isn't no big deal. Because when we're new to the business, we don't know that much. So we just communicate the basics. But as we accumulate all this stuff, and it's taken us 6 months to a year to learn everything, we think we've got to get a prospect caught up to us in 1 hour. And many times we defeat the purpose. So discipline yourself to keep your presentation simple and duplicatable. I highly suggest that you record your presentation about every 60 to 90 days with the prospect so that you can listen to yourself and that you can improve upon the way that you communicate. You can look for danger words that you may be using, and that you can also count the number of questions that you're asking your prospect, and you can be looking at ways of increasing that so you get your prospect more involved in the presentation process. Also, it's important to be able to get down to the decision-making part of your presentation and help your prospect, or help the person you're sharing your gift with, help them feel more comfortable about making a decision. The most common thing for distributors in our business is that they'll give this wonderful presentation with all this great information about what it is they have to offer, this great gift, and they'll come down at the end of the presentation and they'll start this decision-making process with a question that sounds something like this: what do you think? Or what would you like to do? Now, we have to understand, even though those are good questions and they do start the decision-making process, you have to understand how most people's minds work. When we ask an open-ended question of someone, like, what do you think? What we force them to do is put all this information in the forefront of their mind. Everything we told them just brings it right up here. And it's kind of like a television on the wrong channel. And so what they end up saying to themselves is something like, gosh, I'm not sure what to think. Or they end up saying something like, gosh, I'm not sure what to do. And so out of here, they say something that sounds like, I'd like to think it over. Okay? And that's why we get a lot of that. But if you give your prospect, or the person you're sharing your gift with, options, you'll find people move more readily towards making a decision. One of the most common things to do is to give them the 3 options that they can look at. One option is that if they don't see any value in this whatsoever, I can appreciate that. I just felt obligated to share it with you. I did not expect that you would embrace it and this would be perfect for you. The most important thing for me is that I shared it with you. And if you don't see any value, that's fine. I thank you for that. And you move on. Possibly you could work referrals, okay, and you can go from there. Or maybe the timing just isn't right in this person's life and they're not ready to move towards it now. But if they have no objection to being kept informed and staying in touch, you would put them into the pipeline. Another option is to let them know that they can start off as a customer, and that the products or the services that you offer are completely guaranteed to provide for them the benefits that they expect. Another option is that of a business. Maybe you see an opportunity here, an opportunity for you to start a part-time business, maybe even a full-time business. And if that's something that you're attracted to, then I want to discuss that with you, and I want to help you get started as quickly as you would like. And by giving those choices, you'll find people now being able to pull up pictures of different things that they can do. Another thing that I really liked was to let people know that at the end of my presentation, I think you can see why I'm so excited about this. I'd like to ask you a question. I'd like you to imagine in your mind that there's this scale that goes from 0 to 10. 10 being the most excited and the most enthusiastic that anyone could be after what I've just shared with them. I'd like to have you share with me as to where you see yourself on that scale. And if someone shares with you that they're around a 3 or a 4 or a 5, then you can kind of find out what it is they need to have as far as more information to build that enthusiasm and that faith in what it is you offer, which means you would put them into the pipeline and keep informing them so that you could gradually build it. If someone says to you, well, I'm about a 7 or an 8, then you could say something that sounds like, that's just where I was when I first saw this thing. Obviously, you're very excited about it. You'd like to start. Let's talk about how we can help you get started right now. By drawing that scale, you allow someone now to pick between 0 and 10 and give you a real good idea what they think, yes? But it's easier for them to communicate it through a number than it is through all this other stuff. Hello? Okay, good. So you put some of these little techniques and tips to work in your offering your gift and giving your presentation, you'll be amazed at how much more effective you'll become. And like I mentioned earlier, I encourage you to every 60 or 90 days, tape record your presentation with someone and listen to yourself and find ways of improving upon your communication of your gift to others. And fourth gear, and that it's time to upgrade everyone's expectations of the journey. This now, like I mentioned to you before, is the first of your 2 high gears. So now the foundation's in place. You've got momentum built up in your vehicle. You're now ready to shift into 4th gear. And 4th gear is the first of these 2 high gears. What this is designed to do is to raise everyone's expectations. Now there's a number of things that you want to do here. One is you want to have some kind of an event that you can direct people to that will take their level of faith or their level of enthusiasm or their level of belief and will fuel it. In other words, they'll just see greater expectations of what's possible for them and others. I talk about this thing called the showcase. In my book, Being the Best You Can Be, in MLM, I devote a whole chapter on doing an event where all of the people within your particular company come together in your area and you collectively put on an event that's designed to build people's expectations. Now, if you've got an army of your recruits out there sharing the benefits of the company and the products and the business plan in the home, and then you have this event going on once a month or twice a month or eventually even once a week, now you're going to be able to have all these new people come into the bigger events, see the picture of what's possible, get all these forms of fuel that we chatted about, and will now ignite them to even have greater levels of desire and belief as to what's possible for them. In this chapter on the showcases, I talk everything about how to use the hotel, how to use name tags, how to use chairs, how to use music, how to use product displays, how to use testimonials. You use your best speakers, your best trainers at that particular time, and so they get to see this bigger picture of what's possible. Also, another form of raising people's expectation of their journey is conferences. These are actual events that your company would put on. Every single time that there is an event or a conference that your company is putting on anywhere at all near you, it's critical to your success and the success of your people that you get them involved in that. Get buses together if you have to ride together and so forth, but get your people to these conferences so they can see the bigger picture of what's possible. And another key ingredient when it comes to raising people's expectations, if you're going to build people's expectations, then it's critical that you have a support system in place that will fuel that will help people achieve everything that they expect. And this whole support system that you're going to gear to support the people that are coming into the network, that see the big possibilities and they want to move towards it, this whole support system has got to be geared around, guess what? Instilling people's faith, higher levels of faith. And the only way that you can measure faith that I know of is to use a faithometer. So let's take this concept of a faithometer and let's see how it works. Let's draw a scale. Ten would be the highest that you could possibly have as far as faith. That's the unshakable faith. Okay? Now, the fact still remains as people come into your network, most of the people that come into your network, a very strong percentage of them are going to have a faith level somewhere around 3 to a 4. Okay? This is where their faith is going to be. Would you agree with that? Now, their enthusiasm may reflect something other than that, but don't confuse enthusiasm with faith. There's a lot of people out there in this business that get really caught up in the initial possibilities and they get very excited, and they'll display an enthusiasm level of about an 8 to a 9. They'll be very excited, but their faith will be still somewhere around a 3 or a 4. And because there's such a major gap between their enthusiasm and their faith, that's why many new people experience these emotional swings. They get bounced. They're high one day and down in the dumps the next day. The key to this business is to have a small gap between your enthusiasm and your faith. So no matter how bad of a day that you have, you just get a little dribbled at the most. That's why the masters in this business that have unshakable faith, that's why they appear so consistent in both their attitude and their approach to the business. They just don't have bad days. You don't see them, do you? You just don't see them with bad days because they're very consistent. And the reason they're consistent is because the gap between their enthusiasm and their faith is minimal. Whereas the new recruits, they'll get really enthusiastic, but their faith is not congruent with that. So they experience this thing called emotional swings, which takes the ultimate toll on many new recruits. So your support system has to deal with this thing called faith. You got to build it. And there's 3 things, 3 areas that your support system must focus on. Your 3 areas that your support system must focus on when it comes to building faith. One is the area of personal development, which means you need to take a look at your training programs, your support systems. You need to make sure that an integral part of that support system deals in personal development for the new people coming into your business. Historically proven, and it's going to be proven into the future as well, that most of the people that you bring into your business are going to have low levels of self-esteem. Okay? They're not going to have a self-esteem that is congruent with them achieving what they envision in their mind and their heart, which means personal development must become an integral part of your support system. An integral part. And this is an area that many people in this industry are not focusing on. Now, I'd like to use an example that really anchors home what I'm trying to say here. The biggest network marketing company in the world the biggest network marketing company in the world today, does almost $5 billion a year in sales worldwide, has almost 2 million distributors worldwide. Now my question to you is simply this: are they the biggest and the best because they have the best products? No. They're the biggest and the best because they are the best at teaching personal development. Now you think about that. They are the biggest and the best because they are the best at teaching personal development. People come into that network, they're encouraged to Book of the Month Club, tapes, all the conferences that they can attend, and they focus their attention on getting people to believe in themselves more. And even if people walk away from that program or from that opportunity in the months and the years that progress, they walk away better people because of the personal growth and self-worth that they were able to enjoy. And if we can't learn from the biggest, then we're not very good students, you see. So 1/3 of your support system must deal with the issue of personal development. So as a sales leader, you need to be able to recommend the books that your people start using immediately when they come into the business, the tapes. They need to be at every single function. This personal development is a critical part. The second area that your support system focuses on is obviously the company you're associated with. Your support system has to connect your new recruits to the vision, the mission, the purpose of your company. More than just information about the products, more than just information about the history. Get in your support system, do everything you possibly can to educate your new recruits, your new business associates, as the people behind the company and the cause, the vision, the mission, and the purpose of the whole company, so that your new recruits have every opportunity to align their vision, their purpose, along with that of the company's. And then the third critical area, obviously, is that of the industry. 1/3 of your support system needs to be ongoing education of what network marketing is and what it is not, to build levels of faith, greater levels of faith in the opportunity that network marketing offers, so that your people, your new recruits, don't come from the space of fear when someone challenges them about this thing called network marketing. Which means you need to be an ongoing source of information if you're going to be training and educating your new recruits. So my suggestion is you need to look for resources that can provide you with information about what's going on with network marketing, how it's growing, so that you can keep teaching other people. That's what Millionaires in Motion is all about. My suggestion is that you put our 800 toll-free number in your diary, and every 30 or 60 or 90 days, give us a little ring, toll-free. Just ask us what's new, what's going on in the industry. Maybe we can direct you to some publication that's just given a great positive article about the industry that you can now get a hold of and make copies and get off to your people. There's just lots of exciting things that's happening with network marketing, and the more you knew about it, the more you could educate your people. So your support system now has to have these 3 pieces, and they're all equal pieces. If you do a 3-hour training program, then 1/3 should be on personal development, 1/3 should be on the company and the products, and the other 1/3 should be on, guess what, the industry, the whole concept and the whole process of network marketing. Now here's what's exciting, is that you first of all have to be an example of this. Would you agree? The only way you can teach a support system is if you live it first. So you're going to have to be an example of someone that's into personal development, someone that really connects with the company and the vision of the company, and someone that really becomes educated about network marketing and falls in love with it. So now as you start to build this personal support system for yourself, it's going to become now the support system for the others that you bring into the business. You're going to now start recognizing greater levels of faith within yourself, and along with that instilling greater levels of faith, you're going to start experiencing greater levels of success. You're going to get to a point, it could be a few months down the road, you're going to get to a point where you're going to now recognize that this is the level, that there's a level out there that you need to function at, that you need to maintain as far as a faith level in order for you to be consistent with both your attitude and your approach to the business. You're going to recognize that there's a level there that you need to always have in order to achieve the success that you want to achieve and to help the people that want to achieve the kind of success you want to achieve. Now this level will be somewhere between an 8 and a 9. And when you get to that particular point, you'll have an unshakable faith, and you'll have a support system in place. And what this support system will now be is what we call the standard. And personally building your faith, you're going to get to a point where you now establish a standard of what this support system must do on an ongoing basis for every new recruit that's coming into the business. This support system is there for them. All they have to do is reach for it. Now, I just said something really important here. All they got to do is reach for it. Now, here's where a lot of could-be very good and great sales leaders fall short and never become sales leaders, never build their business to that next level. It's because they get to this point where they've instilled greater levels of faith. They now have developed a support system that sets a standard. And now what they start to recognize is that all these people that are coming into the network, okay, they start to see all these numbers of people that are coming into the network, because the more you instill faith, the greater numbers you're going to attract. Would you agree? Okay. Now what happens, it's proven, is that most of these people that come into the network, they're down here in the 3 to 4 point level. But it's also proven that most of them are not going to be willing to, guess what, reach for the standard. Even if that support system is in place, they're not going to be willing to reach for it. They're going to be the ones that are going to start offering excuses why they can't come to the meetings, they can't afford to get the books and the tapes, they can't do this, they can't do that, they can't do this. Okay? Now here's what so many could-be great sales leaders choose to do, and that's why they never get their business to the next level. They start to see the numbers down here of people that are not willing to reach, and so what they think about doing is lowering the standards, thinking more people will reach for it. And all they do now is just weaken the standard and nobody wins. So the most difficult thing for you to understand as a leader is that not everyone is going to be willing to reach, but you can never compromise the standard. You set that support system in place that teaches those 3 critical areas on an ongoing basis, and you instill that within yourself first. You become an example of that, and then you consistently put that out there, and you understand that not everyone, in fact most of them, are just not going to be willing to reach for it. But if you lower the standard, you're still not going to help those people. All you're doing is just weakening and the standard for everyone, and no one wins. You got that point? Yes. Hello?
Yes.
It's very, very important. Okay? So now, you have, in this 4th gear, you have the method through the showcases and through your conferences of just building everyone's expectations of the journey. In other words, building higher levels of vision. Now you also put into place your support system that gives people now the method of achieving their dreams, and they've got to be willing to reach for it. Now you're ready for 5th gear. And 5th gear, that it's time to teach others how to drive themselves. This is the duplication gear of your business. This is where, in most people's mind, is where the rubber meets the road. Duplicating yourself. The whole premise behind this gear, my friends, is in creating independent business associates, not dependent ones. If you want more dependents, just have more children. But if you want independent business associates, and you need to set up an environment right from the go-get that is conducive to exactly that. I would like you to envision that every single time you bring a new recruit into your business, you are now just going into partnership with someone. This is not a relationship of sponsor to new recruit. You've created a partnership. It's much like when 2 people come together and they start to interact, they start to share ideas. Because of the interaction of the 2 minds, they create this 3rd mind. That is called synergy. I'm sure you've heard of that, correct? The same thing. You bring in a new recruit, they have their business, you have your business, but because of the interaction of the 2 of you and those 2 businesses, you create this 3rd business that is a partnership. And if you were to look at every new recruit as this partnership, you could be able to do some things that will really empower your partnership. Because I'm sure that if you were to go into partners with someone and open up some kind of a retail outlet or a store or a restaurant or something like that, that before you opened up the doors of that new business, you definitely would have sat down with your partner a number of times and had a few meetings and gotten clear as to what it is they expect and what it is they're going to do towards the partnership and towards this business. Am I correct? It's the same thing when you bring in a new recruit, is to create that partnershiping environment where you both understand each other as to what it is they want, what it is you want, and what it is you're going to collectively do together to make this business work. The way you achieve this is through what we call an action planner. And an action planner is a sit-down session with your new partner within the first 48 hours of sponsoring them into the business. This could be something that you do over tea, over lunch, or over dinner. It could be something that's as brief as 30 minutes to an hour. It could be something that goes as long as 3 hours. I will promise you this, that the longer your action planner goes, the more time it saves you as the weeks and the months progress. And what your action planner is, it's just a checklist that the two of you as partners are going to go through. You're going to chat about goals. Express to them what your goals, what your targets are, what you're shooting for as a result of this enterprise that you've started. Try to draw out from them what their targets, what their goals are. Get them to voice that. Get them to even write it down as to what their goals are. Another nice thing to chat about with your new partner is to find out what in their mind they consider to be obstacles. Maybe there's some weak areas that they consider themselves not to be strong at and that they need help. It'd be nice to know that right from the go-get. So find out what their obstacles are. And then once you know what their goals are and what obstacles could possibly be standing in their way, now you can talk about some plans of action of how you can work together. And there's basically 3 ways of doing this business, just like there's 3 kinds of people. There's people that make things happen, there's people that watch things happen, and there's people that wondered what in the world just happened. And one of the fastest ways of making this business work is to sit down together as partners and look at ways of how we can get very proactive together. What can we do to go to prospects as opposed to waiting for prospects to come to meetings? And so you would set times together where maybe you would have 3, 4, 5 hours together, and you would have your new recruit or your partner schedule appointments with some of their key prospects in the area, and you would go with them and meet these prospects right in their environment, right in their home. Be very proactive. You could also do that through conference calling for some prospects that they may have outside of the area. You do everything you possibly can to go to the prospects, go to the prospects, go to the prospects. Another way of building this business, in addition to that, is to devote 1 night a week. This is something that I was taught that worked extremely well for me. I didn't know any better. I tried it, and it just was incredible what I was able to accomplish. And I was taught to sponsor someone into my business, and when they were serious, to now not only go to prospects any proactive way that I could, but to also devote 1 night a week in my new distributor's home, or my new recruit's home, 1 night a week for 4 solid weeks. So maybe it would be on a Tuesday night. And each of those Tuesday nights, my new recruit would be inviting 5 to 6 to 8 of the people that they knew in that particular part of the town to come to their home and take a look at what we were doing. I'd always be the first one there to greet everyone. I'd always build rapport with the people. And then my new recruit, all they had to do is, like in week number 1, was just kind of share their story, welcome their guest, turn it over to me, and I gave the basic presentation. They would tape record my presentation. They would take really good notes of the things that I would use on the board or on the flip pad. And then by the end of that night, I would recap with my new recruit, not only encourage them to invite new people for week number 2, but then we'd also look at them now taking over more and more of the presentation for week number 2. So they would review my notes, their notes, they would review the tape presentation that I gave, and then they now were responsible for doing more of week number 2. So now in addition to welcoming everybody and telling their story, they were also maybe talking about the company. So in week number 2, they were doing more, I was doing less. And each week, what we were able to do was piece off more and more of that presentation, so by the time the 4th week came around, they were doing it all. And I was there strictly to answer questions and offer support. Now what this allowed me to do now is, after 4 weeks, is to now free up that Tuesday night, because now they were able to go out and start doing the same thing with some of their key people. And now my Tuesday night was free to go out and sponsor again until I found someone that was willing to work the business that way. And so every 30 to 60 days, I was duplicating myself with people that were out there sharing the story. Now, maybe they weren't as polished in their presentation as I was, because they weren't in the business that long, but at least they were telling the story. And there's one powerful lesson that we need to get out of this, is that the quicker you can get your new recruits sharing the story about the company and the products and the business plan, the better off for them and the better off for you. Because they can come to a meeting and they can hear something 100 times by somebody else, but they'll never get it as well as when they say it just once themselves. And one of the most difficult things for us to do as sponsors is to give these new recruits the opportunity to succeed. We always want to get in their way by being the one that always does the meetings, by always gives the presentations. And we need to find a way of getting our people, getting them out of the nest, so to speak, and getting them to experience the whole thing of telling the story, telling the story, telling the story. And then you have an army of those people out there during the week doing that. Now you have your showcases where all your new recruits bring the people that they're sharing in the home, bringing them to the showcases to catch the bigger picture as to what's possible. Okay? So that's what the action planner is all about. And those are the 5 gears that you must use to drive your vehicle from where you are to where you want to go. Okay? Now the question is how fast you want to get to where you want to be. Okay? I mentioned to you earlier tonight that you were going to have to make a choice by the time this evening came to an end. And that choice is, am I going to approach my business as a 3%er or a 97%er? Do you remember that 3%, 97% rule? Yes. Okay. Well, now the time has come. I've shared with you the powerful and proven principles of how to drive this vehicle. You'll only know how powerful they are when you get in your vehicle and you start driving it. But now the time has come where in your mind you should know, you should be confident and competent that these gears work and that you could drive your vehicle any place that you want to go by applying these gears and mastering them. So now the choice is how fast do you want to get there. You can choose a comfortable pace, and believe me, there's nothing wrong with that. That's one of the things I love about this industry of network marketing, is that it allows people to build their success on the side, to take it step by step by step, in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years down the road, have options open up to them they just didn't have before if they weren't in the business. So if your thoughts and your choice is to move towards this in a very comfortable, slow and steady way, I want you to know that that's okay. That is very okay. But some of you may be at a point in your life right now where you're willing to just facilitate quick, fast, drastic, positive changes in your life. And you're willing to do the things necessary in order to make that happen. That's what the fast track's all about. The fast track is in taking these 5 gears that I've shared with you, these powerful principles, and applying them as much as you possibly can over the next few months. There's a few things that the fast track has. Obviously, it has a price. There's a price connected to this. That's why everyone doesn't do it, you see. And the price is there's a lot of personal sacrifice involved with this thing called the fast track. In order for you to apply more time and more energy to your business, you're going to have to probably give up some other things that you enjoy doing. It could be hobbies, maybe even taking some time away from your family or your faith. Okay? Those are personal sacrifices, and the fast track demands those kind of sacrifices. Another thing that it takes is a lot of faith. Now, what's nice is that you don't have to wait until you have an 8-point faith level before you actually get proactive and put your business on the fast track. But you've got to be willing to start instilling faith immediately, which means you've got to start investing in yourself. You've got to start doing everything you can to educate yourself more and more about the company and this thing called network marketing in your industry. The other thing about the fast track is that you must have a willingness to seize the moment. More than anything else, this is something that you really have to think about. I chatted with you about the 97% and the 3%. The 3% are the ones that have the mindset to go out there and give the evidence to the 97%. The 3% are the ones that obviously prosper the most. But the fact still remains this, my friends. 3 years from now, there's going to be less need for the 3%. In other words, the window of opportunity for you to put your business on the fast track will be smaller 3 years from today than what it is today, because there'll be more evidence, you see. So the rewards won't be as great. And the fast track is all about giving evidence to yourself and to others. And there isn't any other story that's better as far as giving evidence than Roger's story. It's the story of Roger Bannister, who back in 1954 was the first man to ever run a mile underneath 4 minutes. And you have to understand what was going on in the world for many years before this. Everybody thought that this was impossible. No one, absolutely no one, could run a mile underneath 4 minutes. The demands it would take on the human body were just unknown, and no one believed it was possible. But Roger Bannister believed it was possible. He had the faith that he could do. He had actually the audacity to think the opposite of the whole world. I mean, no one has even got close to that. You know what he did? 6 months prior to that race, he trained. He put his life, he put his workout routine on the fast track. For 6 months, he trained harder than he ever trained before, made all the personal sacrifices that he needed to do. And then when on that day, in 1954, he was ready. And guess what? He broke the 4-minute mile. And you want to know something? Ever since he's done that, since 1954, he's been reaping the rewards of winning that one race. for the rest of his life, he's been reaping the rewards of winning that race. That's the power, you see, of the fast track. What's also interesting is that he had an arch rival for so many years before that by the name of John Landy that had beaten Roger Bannister in so many different races prior to that. And when when John Landy saw Roger Bannister break the 4-minute mile, John Landy couldn't help but believe that he could now do it. And within 6 weeks after Roger Bannister doing it, John Landy just broke the 4-minute mile. And since 1954, the world record has been broken 17 times. So what Roger Bannister did, you see, is that he instilled a whole new faith level, belief level in the world. He gave the world a whole new set of facts, which means if you were to make that choice of putting your business for the next 6 months to a year on the fast track, taking every opportunity you possibly can to apply these principles, making the personal sacrifices, train and work harder than you ever have, you're going to win a race, you're going to set a world's record. And everybody's going to look at you in your network and they're going to say, my goodness, if that person can do it, I can do it too. And that's sure something that you want. Is everybody in your network thinking they can do better than you, yes? Okay. And you'll be reaping the rewards for this 6 months to a year effort for the rest of your life. So, now it's up to you. It's your choice. And I'd like to leave you with one last story. You have to go back many years ago to the small town in Germany. There was this little old man, and the only thing that he had in his possession was this fiddle and this bow. He hadn't eaten in days. He was starving. And he'd heard about this auction that was going on in the outskirts of town. So he thought that maybe if I got to the auction, I could sell my fiddle and my bow, get enough money so I could get some food. So he walked for miles. He got to the auction just before it was ready to conclude. He worked his way up through the crowd, got to the platform where the auctioneer was, and he pulled on the auctioneer's pant leg, and he says, Mr. Auctioneer, he says, before you adjourn, he says, all I've got is this fiddle and this bow. I was hoping that maybe somebody would want to buy it so I could feed myself. I haven't eaten in days. So the auctioneer took the fiddle and the bow, and he walked up to the microphone, and he says, ladies and gentlemen, before you leave, he says, I've just been handed this fiddle and this bow. What am I bid for it? The bid started. 10 cents came from over here. 25 cents came from over there. 50 cents came from over here. 75 cents came from over here. And the bid stopped at 75 cents. Now the auctioneer was just about ready to put the gavel down for the third time when the old man walked up on the platform and walked up to the auctioneer and he says, just one moment, please. Can I have my fiddle and my bow back? So the auctioneer just gave the fiddle and the bow back to the old man. The old man then took out his hanky and he just polished that beautiful fiddle. And he cleaned off the bow. And then he held it up and he played the most beautiful music that township had ever heard. And when he got done playing it, he handed the fiddle and the bow back to the auctioneer. This time, the auctioneer took the fiddle and the bow very gingerly, and with a tremendous amount of respect and pride in his voice, he says, now, ladies and gentlemen, what am I bid for this beautiful violin and this magnificent bow? And the bid started, $1,000, $2,000, and the bids went all the way up to $7,500. Now my question to you is simply this. What was the difference between that 75-cent fiddle and bow and that $7,500 beautiful violin and magnificent bow? It was nothing more than the touch of the master's hands. And what's the difference about where you are today and where you dream to be? It's nothing more than the touch of you, the master's hands. So I want to acknowledge you one last time for the commitment that you're making to your company, your industry, but most importantly, my friends, I want to acknowledge you for the commitment that you're making to yourself to be the best that you can possibly be. There's nothing more important than that. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to do what I love to do more than anything else in the world. And I look forward to seeing all of you on the fast track. Good night.